Welcome back to Movie Mystery Box. Today we're going to be taking a look at a thriller film from 2021. I'm excited to share this with you, so let's begin. The story kicks off with Pippa and Thomas, a couple fresh in Montreal, moving into their new shared house with excitement. As night falls and they enjoy a drink, their attention is drawn to the apartment across the street, clearly visible through their window. The neighbors there seem to be engaging in a passionate moment, capturing Pippa and Thomas's curiosity. As they continue to watch, the neighbors not only kiss but also offer their own critique of the young couple's actions from their vantage point. Pippa, uncomfortable with this unintentional peeping Tom situation, urges Thomas to stop invading the neighbors' privacy. Thomas, though, is unfazed, arguing that the neighbors don't mind and are fully aware of their audience. But Pippa has a point. She reminds Thomas that life unfolds differently in each window, with various people living their own stories. However, the window overlooking the neighboring house seems to offer a more intriguing spectacle than the others. Feeling adventurous, Pippa decides to dress up in an alluring nightgown, hoping to spark some romantic passion in their new home. However, when she approaches Thomas, she finds him fast asleep, and her seductive efforts fall flat. The next morning, Pippa starts her day in the new neighborhood, heading to work with her close friend Ari. Over a chat, Ari inquires about Pippa's new life with Thomas, and Pippa can't help but share her voyeuristic discovery from the previous night. It seems the neighbors across the way had a rather steamy evening, and Ari got a front row seat to it all. Pippa works as an ophthalmologist's assistant and is learning and gaining experience to become a doctor. Pippa's senior doctor gives her a gift for moving to a new house and tells her that this gift is for the birds that come to drink water, and it will bring joy and happiness to her home. When Pippa returns home, she finds a beautiful drawing of Thomas on the blackboard and is delighted and installs the doctor's gift. They talk about their friendship with their new neighbors and marvel at the beauty of their lives. Pippa and Thomas realize something is wrong and their neighbor is choking. They try to inform his wife about his condition, but she doesn't understand. Pippa asks Thomas to go to their house and help him, but his wife saves him at the last moment and they kiss each other, relieving Pippa and Thomas that he has been saved in the middle of the night. Pippa can't sleep and goes to the kitchen to drink water, but her attention is again drawn to the opposite window. Pippa goes further and notices that the neighbor's wife is going on a trip, and her husband sees her off by the window overlooking their house. She is completely lost in the beauty and charm of his neighbor, which provokes her. But when he looks at her, the glass of water breaks. Thomas, whose job is to make music for commercials while working attention, is drawn to the house across the street, and he notices that their neighbor, whose job is to take pictures of models, is with one of the models in the absence of his wife. It feels very intimate. When Pippa returns from work, her attention is drawn to the hunting camera behind the shop window, and she buys it. Now they are more closely investigating this man's behavior in the absence of his wife, and they find out he has invited the same person who was talking to him a little earlier to his house and wants to take a snapshot of her and give her a drink, but a little later he provokes the girl by taking off his clothes, and at the same time as they are making love. Pippa and Thomas also do this in a creative and new way, but Thomas, like the neighbor next door, cannot give her a happy ending. In the middle of the night, Pippa does not sleep, gets out of bed, and continues to sneak peek at her neighbor. The neighbor's wife returns from a trip and goes to his husband. Pippa realizes that they have a deep relationship with each other. The next day, in a meeting with their friends, she explains this incident to them, and among the conversations with Thomas's sister, she realizes that he could extract sound from closed spaces with a long-range microphone in the past. At home, he explains to Pippa how he can access the sound inside the house by using vibrations and passing through the reflection of the glass of the neighbor's window opposite. Still, he needs a mirror to reflect the lines of sound. Unfortunately, it does not work there, but Pippa is very determined and decides to go anonymously with Thomas to the party at their house so they can install a sound-reflecting device. When they enter their neighbor's house, the moment they enter, Sebastian gets Pippa on his shoulder and takes her to the photoshoot stage and asks Thomas to take a photo with her. Sebastian guides them on how to take a beautiful picture, and after finishing the photoshoot, he walks away without saying a word. A little later, while waiting to go to the bathroom, he discovers that Sebastian has cheated on his wife again, Pippa uses the distraction of people and with the help of Thomas installs a mirror behind one of the statues in the house, and they leave and return home. Thomas reflects the laser light on the mirror with the help of Pippa, and she finds the light reflected from the laser with initiative. Thomas makes the necessary adjustments and they manage to hear the couple's voice. They are arguing because Juliet discovered that Sebastian went to the bathroom with some girls and cheated on her. Tired of these repeated arguments, Sebastian wants to end his relationship with Julia and divorce her, tries to end the discussion, tells him this issue is no longer necessary to her, and tries to calm him down. But Sebastian is tired of her behavior and humiliates her and causes her glasses to break. The next day, Pippa finds herself at the ophthalmologist's office, and to her surprise, Julia is there too, looking to buy some glasses. Pippa takes on the role of guiding Julia in choosing the perfect frame for her new glasses. As they proceed with the eye test, it becomes evident that Julia is struggling to distinguish the letters, adding a layer of tension to their already complicated situation. Amidst the eye test stress, the secret of their spying on Julia's neighbors comes dangerously close to being unveiled. Pippa examines Julia's eyes with another device, ensuring there are no issues after the test. In the process of selecting glasses, they start to grow closer, sharing a good time together. Before leaving, Julia surprises Pippa by suggesting they meet again and even invites her for a weekend getaway to a sauna and hot water pool. Despite the stress of keeping their secret, Pippa agrees, and Julia departs from the office. Meanwhile, Thomas, engrossed in his advertising project, becomes intrigued by something Sebastian, his colleague, says to his photography model. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he discreetly adjusts his microphone to eavesdrop on their conversation. What he discovers is that Sebastian is attempting his usual technique to seduce the model, initially without success. However, through persistence and the promise of extra money, he manages to persuade the girl into a compromising relationship. Pippa later confides in Thomas about her eventful visit to the ophthalmologist's office, revealing that they even made plans for the weekend. She also expresses her concern about Julia's unhealthy relationship with her spouse. Still, Thomas tells Pippa that this has nothing to do with them. They must focus on their relationship and stop spying on their neighbor's house. Thomas asks Pippa to cancel her date with Julia, but Pippa refuses, which makes Thomas lose heart and leave the house under the pretext of buying a drink. The weekend comes, and Pippa and Julia go to the Santa Club. There, Pippa tries to indirectly understand her to avoid a relationship where there is betrayal. Julia tells her that he owes everything she has in her life to her husband, and without him, she would fail in life. She praises Sebastian and considers him a successful person and a complete professional in his field of work, and she trusts him completely. Pippa is silent, and a little later they part in front of the sauna club and go home. Now Pippa is in a relationship with these two people full-time, and is constantly sneaking around in the lives of these two people and spying on Sebastian's unhealthy relationships very carefully. Pippa gets out of bed, and after setting up the listening devices, she realizes that Julia is awake and tries to connect to the printer of their house through Thomas's computer. Pippa succeeds and anonymously sends Julia a message containing Sebastian's betrayal. At first, Julia is hesitant to believe Pippa's revelation, but Pippa insists and points out the used contraceptive in the bathroom trash can. This intense moment catches Thomas's attention as well, and he berates Pippa for meddling, thinking it's gone too far. However, Pippa is determined to expose Sebastian's wrongdoing. Julia, fueled by anger and hurt, grabs a knife from the kitchen with Pippa and Thomas looking on. In a frantic effort, Thomas tries to call the police, but Pippa persuades him not to, knowing that their spying could land them in legal trouble. Eventually, Julia can't bring herself to harm Sebastian and exits the room. Thomas, still furious, vents his anger by smashing Pippa's camera, and he retreats to the bedroom. The following day, he has a heart-to-heart conversation with Pippa, urging her to stop spying on their neighbors. Pippa sincerely promises she won't, deeply affected by the dangerous events of the previous night. They share a heartfelt embrace, seemingly reconciled. But then, a chilling realization dawns on them. Something has gone terribly wrong in their neighbor's house. Julia has taken her own life. Thomas, overwhelmed with terror, pins the blame on Pippa for this tragic turn of events. He gathers his belongings and, devastated, ends his relationship with Pippa, leaving her alone in the midst of heartbreak and sorrow. Pippa sleeps alone on the bed at night the next day when she calls customers to deliver ready-made glasses. She encounters Julia's glasses and records the message of providing the new glasses to her with a grudge. After a few weeks, Pippa observes Sebastian's poor condition after his wife's death, and in an attempt to calm his conscience, she goes to a shop where Sebastian is having a drink. Pippa watches him. Sebastian notices her presence, goes to her table and talks to her. Pippa sympathizes and starts talking to Sebastian to calm him down and make him enclosed with her words. Sebastian asks Pippa to go to his house for drinks and take a snapshot as a model. Pippa agrees, and they go to Sebastian's house together. He pours Pippa a drink and asks her to attend his exhibition opening. In his usual technique, Sebastian asks Pippa to pose for the camera to take her picture. After taking several photos, Sebastian asks Pippa to take off her clothes so he can take better pictures, telling her he is a professional and trusts him. With his old technique, Sebastian took off his clothes first, and then Pippa, who was impressed by Sebastian, took off her clothes, and Sebastian took a photo of her. After a few photos, they kissed each other and had a relationship. While Pippa is entangled in her affair, Thomas pays her a surprise visit, armed with a bouquet of flowers. Not finding Pippa at home, he helps himself to a drink and even pours some out for the birds. As he looks around, he spots the presence of a new person in Sebastian's house, and when he glimpses the camera, he realizes Pippa's infidelity. The next day, Pippa awakens in Sebastian's embrace, but when she returns home, she is met with a devastating sight. Thomas has taken his own life, hanging from the ceiling. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, Pippa sinks into a long period of mourning, her life overshadowed by sadness, and she bears the weight of responsibility for the tragic turn of events. Sometime later, Pippa stumbles upon an opening ceremony on Poster Street, organized by Sebastian. Accompanied by Ariana, she attends the event. During the ceremony, Sebastian expresses gratitude for her presence and encourages her to enjoy the occasion. As he discusses his new project, he introduces Julia, whom they believe to be dead. To their astonishment, Julia is not only alive, but also well. The new project, it turns out, revolves around none other than Pippa and Thomas. Julia and Sebastian share their side of the story, revealing that Pippa and Thomas had been secretly spying on them, unaware that their cameras had captured every intimate detail of their lives. Julia addresses the audience, narrating the entire tale of Pippa's life and her actions, considering them a pivotal factor in Thomas's tragic demise. Pippa's eyes are opened, realizing she's been played and taken advantage of. In a rush, she heads over to Sebastian's place, ascending to the attic room. What she finds there is an archive of every moment she and Thomas spent in the house, recorded meticulously by Sebastian and Julia. Overwhelmed by betrayal, she vents her frustration, crushing objects, tearing pictures, and shedding tears. The following day, Pippa is compelled to leave her Montreal home. While packing, she comes across some dead birds beneath her window, a grim sight. Shortly after, she encounters Julia, who bids her farewell. Sebastian and Julia are interviewed by a magazine about their unique project, creating a gallery featuring their neighbors who had spied on their lives, each season with a different twist. But as the interview concludes, Sebastian displays nervousness, prompting a hasty departure with Julia. They bring home a gift from their fans, and after a drink, a conversation ensues. Sebastian grapples with guilt and questions Julia about her lack of remorse. Julia, however, shifts the blame onto the true perpetrator and recalls the humiliation they faced at the ceremony. Suddenly, the printer springs back to life, and Pippa engages them, revealing her knowledge and certainty that Thomas didn't commit suicide. He was murdered. Sebastian and Julia notice Pippa's presence and give chase. Pippa seeks refuge in her workplace but is unable to keep them out. She confronts them, explaining that she knows Julia poisoned Thomas, making it appear as a suicide. Pippa accuses them of manipulating her and holds them responsible for Thomas's death. Julia tries to feign innocence, dismissing Pippa's claims as hallucinations, but then she collapses. "You're done, Julia." Sebastian remains, and Pippa unveils her plan. The drink she offered them is poisoned. She implores Sebastian to look at her one last time, as it will be the last thing he sees. Pippa places them under the equipment she knows so well, blinding them with ophthalmic devices, ensuring they won't be able to interfere in another person's life anytime soon. So good. Intrigued by the plot twists and intense drama in this thrilling film? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below about your favorite scenes, characters, or any burning thoughts about the movie you might have. Let's keep the discussion alive. And if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more gripping content. Your feedback means the world. Thanks for joining me on this journey.